I ventured out this year. I left my job as the chief product officer at Dribbble to start a brand new company. And that company is gigantic. My goal is to help you master the new influential disciplines that are driving results within organizations, like product leadership taught by Ben Foster, the former CPO at Whoop. It's not just video courses. We're combining video lectures with take-home assignments and exercises, and then small group mentorship to really help level you up, and all at a cost that most companies' learning and development budget covers. So if you're interested, go to gigantic.is, that's gigantic.is, sign up for a course, and I'll walk you through everything that you need to know. And if you enroll and let me know that you heard about this on Rocketship, I've got a special discount for you.
Hey guys, this is Joelle. Before we get into today's episode, I wanted to ask for your support. Over the past year, we've worked our butts off bringing you 2 awesome episodes a week with incredible entrepreneurs that are running some of the best startups in the world. And we'd love to keep doing this for you in 2015, but we need your help. If you go to rocketship.fm/2015, we've put together some awesome gifts for you guys. We have a really beautiful hardcover book that is filled with some of our favorite quotes and photos of our guests from the past year. We have posters with quotes so you can deck out your office with inspirational quotes from the founders we've interviewed and motivate your team. And we have a really cool t-shirt that Michael designed too. We're only going to be offering this once, and we're only going to bug you until the end of December. So please go to rocketship.fm/2015 right now and do your bit to support the Rocketship moving forward in 2015. All right, enough of that. Let's get on with today's episode. It's a great one.
Welcome to the Rocketship podcast. This is Michael Saka.
And I'm Matt Goldman. Today we talked with Josh Braun, the VP of Business Development at Jellyvision. What'd you think of this one, Michael?
You know, his tips on getting over selling were one of the, highlights of this episode. So as you're listening, definitely listen for when he talks about getting into the mindset of being a good salesman, which is really being a good servant. I don't know. What did you think, Matt?
Yeah, it comes down to treating people like people and, really hearing them out about what they need instead of approaching someone assuming that the tool that you have is going to fix their problem and starting the conversation that way, because people pick up on that. So he goes through his process, which centers around treating people like people. And he also got into the tools that they use to do that, to find ways to cold email people, how to do the proper research to get everything right on the first go, how to do follow-ups. He covers everything. It was great.
And who to contact when to get into the company, kind of finding that champion. That's something that I don't always think about when doing sales. I often look for where's the money, right? Who can buy this product? But that's not always what works inside of these large organizations. So that was also really enlightening.
Yeah, let's get into it. We'd like to take a moment to thank our awesome sponsors. CodeShip makes continuous delivery simple and easy. Go to codeship.com/rocketship to get 20% off 3 months.
Customer.io is a modern email platform built for startups. Go to customer.io/rocketship to start sending emails that convert.
We'd also like to thank InVision app. InVision is by far the best prototyping and collaboration tool on the market. I can personally say I can't imagine delivering another design comp without it. Go to invisionapp.com/rocketship and sign up to get their starter plan free for 90 days. So tell us about Jellyvision.
Well, I'll start by asking you a question and test your 80s movie trivia. Do you guys remember a movie back in the 80s where Matthew Broderick skipped school for the day?
Yes.
Yeah. If you remember the iconic scene from that movie, Ben Stein was lecturing to the students in a very dry, monotonous way, and the kids were zoning out. At Jellyvision, we call that anyone syndrome, and that's the pain we help companies solve. It turns out that anyone syndrome is alive and well in companies all across America, whether they're communicating about their products and services or benefits, and we come in and explain it in more delightful ways so that people feel confident and can take the next step.
What does that experience look like for the companies? How are you guys helping them communicate better?
Sure. So we have an approach that we call an interactive conversation, and there's really 2 defining characteristics of it. One, instead of leaning back and watching like you would do a video, our experience is they ask you a question, and based on how you respond to that question, the content actually changes accordingly. The reason that's interesting is that everybody comes to these experiences with different knowledge levels and different needs. And by asking questions, you're able to create a more compelling and relevant experience. And two is that these things are actually written to actually sound like real people that have personalities. We have roots in game development and game. We're probably best known for a game called You Don't Know Jack, which was wildly popular in the 90s. And so we're very much about creating these experiences that sound like people. So we actually have comedians that are writing these things, copywriters, people that are great storytellers. So these pieces have a personality to them that are much more delightful than traditional marketing videos.
Yeah, and it totally comes through. I was looking at some of the work on your website, watching these videos, and they were about topics like, internal company employee healthcare. And I was learning a lot because I was so engaged with it, and I kept clicking through. And things that normally, if I landed on a web page about that topic, I would bounce out, but I was totally engaged with the videos.
Yay, it's working.
and it's the tone of it was very similar to You Don't Know Jack.
Yeah, and that's really staying true to our roots. Everything we do is about engaging people and putting little moments of delight and having some personality. And we feel that at the end of the day, people love to be entertained and love to smile and like to laugh.
Do you guys have any kind of stats on before Jellyvision and after Jellyvision in terms of engagement?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of our biggest customers is Comcast, and we've done some work with them to help their employees better understand higher deductible healthcare plans, which is a big shift that companies are trying to move employees towards. And they were never quite able to communicate the value of what those healthcare plans were to the employees, and never saw a lot of participation in those programs. We came in with an interactive conversation, which is not focused on the healthcare plan. It's focused on who am I talking to and why does this matter to you? A completely different shift from the features to the benefits. And we saw an increase of 30% participation in FSA programs as opposed to before. So a really big lift there. And that's very consistent with a lot of our customers, seeing double or sometimes even triple digit conversion growth based on whatever metrics they're measuring.
So for a product like this, you're going after much larger companies than something like a self-serve software product online.
Yeah, we're primarily dealing with Fortune 1000 companies. So
what's the process look like of finding those people to talk to and then going through the sales process?
Yeah, it's very surgical. We are very big believers in not reaching out to people that we genuinely don't believe we can help. So we do not generally, will not mass blast, messages. We'll go in and be much more surgical, take a look at their LinkedIn profiles, read a bit about their initiatives. We'll use a product called Gauge In, which I highly recommend to monitor different news events and trigger events that are happening with companies. And when we genuinely believe that we can help somebody with one of their initiatives, we will then reach out with a very personalized email that references that article and how we think we might be able to help. Generally, we will not speak about our products or services, just about what insight that we have and the idea that we have and what's in it for them. And then we'll use a combination of emails that'll drip out over time and the good old-fashioned phone as well, using dials and voicemails. And then sometimes we'll also use direct mail. We'll send things in strange and unusual ways and packages. We were trying to get UPS to have a conversation with us. We sent a little UPS truck with a little funny note. So we'll do little delightful things along those lines to stand out. But just like our conversations have personality, we're very big believers that our sales and marketing has that personality and warmth to it as well.
And are most of these reach outs like the UPS case where you're trying to get the attention of someone who you've researched to be a good fit, but don't know anyone there? Or do you leverage the past people that you've worked with to introduce you to new companies who could benefit as well?
It's primarily the former. Primarily, we are trying to go in cold to many of these accounts. And so LinkedIn's been a really, fantastic resource for that, from, identifying who the right person, might be. And we also have some nice copy, in our emails and our outreach, something along the lines of, if you're not the right person, would you be open to pointing me in the right direction? And a lot of times when the recipient of these emails feels like you actually are in it for them and not so self-serving, a lot of times people are very open to, hey, you need to talk to Bob. And in that instance, then we use that referral. Lisa said, we should catch up about this initiative you have. Thought we might be able to help you with it. So it's very much about going in cold, being real surgical about who we're looking at, and then going in with a very personalized message. And then once we find that the right person, speaking to them. And sometimes that comes from a referral because we've spoken to 2 or 3 people that are not the right person.
We'll be right back after a quick word from our sponsors. Now, back to the show.
What are some of the concerns that these larger companies have when engaging you that you as a salesman have to kind of address?
I think the stereotype of salespeople is the biggest one. Unfortunately, the salespeople have just a really negative, stereotype, and I think it's our own doing. Most times when people reach out with cold emails or cold calls, it's very much focused on the product. You've probably been a recipient of some of these cold calls. Hi, my name is Josh. I'm going to be in the area. Let me tell you about my SaaS-based solution. We've increased participation rates by X, blah, 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 blah. And so they're not really accustomed to an approach that's more focused on them. We genuinely believe that we have something that can help them, and we don't assume. That's another approach that we use. I think that the challenge is that a lot of people feel pressure because the sales reps assume that what they have is needed. We don't know. We're here to discover if, in fact, there is a fit and to get to the truth. And if there isn't, and if it's not a good fit and we feel we can help them in some other way, we have a very big Rolodex of other partners and other people that we can oftentimes point them to. So overcoming that sales stereotype is a very big hurdle.
Kind of in sales, one of the big hangups that people have is this either fear of rejection or fear of even just reaching out the first time. What are some things that you have done in your career that have helped you kind of get past that?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very, very real fear. And I think first and foremost, you have to get in the right mindset. So I want you to forget about selling, and I want you to start remembering that you're helping and that you care. And this can't be something that you fake. You have to believe very deep in your heart that what it is that you have to offer may be able to help this person. By way of example, if I were to approach you and I were to cold call you, Matt, and say, hey, Matt, I've been listening to your radio show for 2 months, and I've got an idea that might help you be able to get 20,000 more viewers over the next couple months, you'd probably be open to listening to that idea. Because I'm not being assumptive and I'm focused on a business benefit. So if you can really get in the mindset of not selling but helping, I think that's the first, huge thing. It's about helping, it's about caring, and it's about teaching. And if in fact there's a fit, the sale sort of naturally happens. But that's not the intent. That's not the mindset. When you pick up the call and when you pick up the phone to call someone, your goal isn't to sell. Your goal is to explore and to see if you might be able to help this person. And that's a huge mind shift that can really start to get you in a much better headspace when picking up the phone. So by way of example, whenever I cold call someone, one of the first things I'll say is, hey, Matt, this is Josh. I was hoping you could help me out for a moment, in a very kind of soft voice. And if you ask that question, how would you respond? He'd probably, what's up? Say, hey, Matt, I was just listening to your radio show, and I noticed that you guys serve this demographic and you have this many viewers and you talk about X, Y, and Z. I've got an idea that might help you grow your audience by 10,000 people over the next 2 months. Matt, would you be open to carving out some time at some point to explore that? Now notice what I did there, Matt, is I didn't talk about my solution. I'm genuinely think that what I have can help you grow your audience, and I want to see if you might be open to exploring it. So that's as opposed to me calling you and starting to have diarrhea of the mouth and start to vomit my product on you. Just a different approach and mindset. And
you're showing that there's some level of understanding there. There's the 2 alternatives to this are you get someone reaching out on LinkedIn, usually a foreign development firm, in my case, saying, hey, we're this, this, and this. We can do PHP, we can do Ruby, we can do all these technologies. You should hire us. Thanks. And then the other end is similar to what you're saying, but without the understanding, where they basically are, even if they're not mentioning the service, they're not mentioning enough for you to care, and it feels like a pitch. And you want to know enough of whether it's going to be worth your time or not. So that's what I see as being different in the pitch that you're going through right now.
You're exactly right.
It's not fully a pitch, but like I feel like you care and that there might be something here that I should be listening to.
That's right. And that's exactly right. And that's genuine, right? Because I don't know if what I have will work for you. So I'm not ready to go into pitch mode yet. I have to go into listen mode and discovery mode and having a conversation with you. And so much of that is being prepared and doing your homework and demonstrating to someone that you do care and that you have done your homework and you don't have your best interest in mind. You have the potential customer's best interest in mind.
What are some of the challenges that you see when selling to these big corporations? Is there do you know exactly who you're going to in the decision maker, or is there kind of a dance to get there?
We sell very expensive software, so that usually means there's more than one person that needs to get involved. So we'll typically start with someone that might be a champion or might be an influencer. And after establishing relationships with them, we might say something like, hey, Matt, in addition to yourself, who else is involved in the decision-making process, or tell us how things get circulated in your company. And because you've built trust at that stage and they feel like you're not self-serving, they're usually very open to starting to really explain to you their process and their world. And oftentimes buyers actually need a little help navigating through their world, especially if they're new to the organization. And so by asking some questions like, hey, Matt, would it make sense if we, brought Michael into the next meeting? Or, hey, Matt, as someone from tech, usually there's someone in tech that needs to get involved in that point. Is that, do you have someone at your company? Again, you're almost like a consultant, in a way. Sometimes if we're in a room and there's 4 or 5 people that we're speaking with, we'll try to involve everyone in the conversation, not just the person doing all the talking, a way to just facilitate, group conversation. The idea is to be viewed as a facilitator as opposed to just a salesperson.
Right. So how are you finding the champion, or I guess what kind of qualities are you looking for in that person?
It's different for every business, but again, LinkedIn is just such a great resource because we can almost sense what the traits are. We can actually see in the language, we can see in the types of skills that they have. LinkedIn has a really neat little area where you see the skills of the person. You can see what groups they're in. You can see how they describe themselves. We can get a pretty good sense that this is someone that might not be the decision maker, but is certainly interested or has some initiatives around some of the things we might be able to help them with. And then we have a really super interesting process that I can talk to about how you actually get that person's contact information, meaning first name, last name, email address, company. This is a little hack that I think would be very interesting, especially for startups. There's a service called Elance or Odesk. This is a collection of virtual workers. And you can actually pay someone, $5 or $6 an hour, and you can give them search criteria on LinkedIn. Here's the people that I want to reach out to. So I've done that work. I've gone through the LinkedIn profiles and I've created essentially a list. And then I give that list to a virtual assistant out in the Philippines. And for literally $6 an hour, I have them, while I'm sleeping, generate an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file with all of the names of the people and their email addresses. And they have some tools that they use to get email addresses. There's a tool called Toofer, which is TOOFR.com. There's a site called ZoomInfo and Data.com. They have access to these tools that essentially try to make a best guess and verify email addresses. And so while I'm sleeping, the next day when I wake up, I'll have a spreadsheet of, 500 to 600, names that I could then start to reach out to via our marketing messages, via email or cold call. We also have a solution backend that allows us to see how interested people are in our message. So we know if people are opening the link, if they're clicking the link, if they're poking around their site, and we can actually score those people higher so we know who has, the most interest. From a startup perspective, you might want to take a look at a tool called Tout App. That's TOUTAPP.com. Yesware is another one. Hatchbuck.com is another one. But these are all tools that allow you to have templatized emails that you can tweak based on who you're sending it to, very rapidly engage if the message is resonating, so that you can actually queue and prioritize your follow-up. So outsource the list on Elance, put a little ad on there, and then once your list comes back, use a program called Tout or Yesware to start to send those messages out and cold call.
That is awesome. Yeah, thank you for that. That is something that I think everyone can do. When you're doing, so after you've got your prospect and you're kind of engaging with them, what kind of cadence do you set up for that sales?
Yeah, it's a great question. So it typically takes about 6 to 7 touches. So there's lots of different, and you don't want to follow up in annoying ways. So one of the things that we'll do is we'll send out an initial email that might say something like, hey, I noticed you are responsible for X, Y, and Z. We've got some ideas that might be able to help you with X, Y, and Z. If you want, I can send you a quick demo so you can evaluate to see if this might make sense for you, or a quick white paper or a quick ebook, some type of educational resource. And then if they nibble on that, we'll start to send another email that says, hey, might you be open to carving out 15 minutes for a consultation, or we can explore your needs to determine if this is a fit. We'll mix that in with sometimes a voicemail or a cold call, but it's very, 5 to 6 different touches over the course of a month or so. And then we have a what I call a breakup email at the end. That's a little bit funny. The subject line says something like, maybe you're just not that into me, or something like that. And then there's like A, B, C, or D. A, the timing's bad. B, yeah, we should talk. Or C, Josh, I just don't like your receding hairline. And then I never do business with people with receding hairline, something really funny. And that usually gets, people a laugh. Some of these templates that I'm talking about and approaches, a little bit of a shameless plug, but if you head on over to Sales Junkie, KIE.com, I put some of these templates on that site, and they're free to download and use as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, what a great resource.
So where can we keep up with you online?
Yeah, salesjunkie.com is the site I literally just started, and occasionally teach over at Starter School in Chicago for entrepreneurs and startups that are looking to crank up their sales engine. Sometimes we run some courses there, and I'm in the process of creating an online version of that course right now. But if you have any questions about sales, feel free to hit up salesjunkie.com and opt in to the little newsletter form and shoot me off a question anytime you want. We do like a little viewer mail segment where we'll take your question and we'll dissect it. If you have any emails that you're thinking about sending out and you want me to take a look at them, send them over to me and we'll do like a before and after. The only thing I ask is that we can publicize it. We can redact the names on the site so people can see the makeover. So that's a resource that you can look at.
We might have to take you up on that.
I'm up for the challenge, gentlemen. I'm up for the challenge.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll talk to you soon.
That sounds good. Thanks, guys, for the opportunity.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Rocketship podcast. If you enjoyed it, we have tons of other awesome episodes on our website. Check them out, rocketship.fm.
And while you're there, make sure you sign up for our newsletter, where twice monthly we send out actionable advice for entrepreneurs and exclusive links to AMAs with our guests. That's rocketship.fm. Sign up today.
I'd seen the bloodlines of Antietam, the shotgun shack in Tupelo, but a brick circumference left, hollow by Sherman, crumbling before me, how it moaned. His shape swallows my recollection, that phantom silhouette implied. Strange fruit rotting, roaming, airborne and hotter than hell. Is this the king's last man I've spied? Well, I stood there beside my companion, scratching a rumor he had heard.
Hey, my name is Lovan Rumpf, and I've been working my ass off as a celebrity stylist by day and a podcast host by night. At the Low Life Podcast, it's all about keeping it real. We're talking fashion, beauty, to religion, sex, drugs, mental health. I mean, there's no topic off limits here, and vulnerability is mandatory. You can find my podcast, The Low Life, that's L-O, no W, everywhere and anywhere you listen to your podcasts. New episodes are out every Thursday. We'll see you then.
It's pretty eerie to know you're in a place that no human's ever been before.
This is Armchair Explorer, where the world's greatest adventurers tell their best stories from the road.
And 4 of us were swept down the side of the mountain, and then I knew there was no way out of this thing.
From the heart-pounding to the inspiring and the downright insane. Find Armchair Explorer, a part of APT Podcast Studios, wherever you get your podcasts.
Go and find what it is in the world that matches that wildness in yourself.